and welcome to another reading vlog. You may have seen my latest manga haul video, so I have plenty to read. Earlier today I finished reading volumes 34, 35, and 36 of One Piece, and I absolutely gobbled this up like no one's business. I love One Piece, you've heard me gush about it multiple times, and my latest reading experience with these volumes is no different. It was fantastic. In fact, these volumes were some of the most emotional ones I've read. I nearly cried, and I am now only more invested in these characters and story, as if I wasn't invested enough already. Also, pro tip when it comes to reading manga: never read the back. Never read the back synopsis. Bad idea. I read this blind. I did not read the synopsis in the back, and I was absolutely bamboozled at some of the reveals, some of the plot twists in these volumes. And then I've just flipped this over, and it just honestly spoils some of the big plot twists in these volumes. So yeah. Pro tip, never read that synopsis. Not a good idea. But anyways, enough yapping about One Piece. I want to share what my next read is going to be for tonight, and that is Volume 5 of Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. This is the final volume in this series, so I'm going to go ahead and get cozy and read this final volume. I just finished reading Volume 5 of Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. I feel like the story ended gracefully. It wrapped up well. It is definitely a melancholy story. In this story, the world is ending, ocean levels are rising, entire towns are being wiped out and now exist underwater. This story really focuses on the resilience of humans, the resilience of their memories, how their memories tend to stick to buildings, places, entire cities, and our main character Alpha feels somewhat responsible for preserving these memories. I feel like this story, despite being sad, is somewhat soothing, thinking about how memories of people live on after they pass away. But even that can only last for so long, especially in this context where there's a world that is ending. And it makes me think about the world that we live in and how if we don't take care of it, we're not going to have it for that much longer. And there's just not going to be people around carrying our stories any further into the future. So yeah, altogether, this is a very powerful series, a very emotional one. And if you were to actually collect all of the lines, all of the dialogue and text that exists in this series, it's not that much. It wouldn't amount to a lot of pages. It's able to say this really impactful story with few words, which I think is awesome. So yeah, I'm really happy to have read this series, but I'm currently in this weird state where it's you just read something so good and you don't really want to read anything else right away. You kind of want the last thing you read to just linger in your mind, and you want to savor it, the way it makes you feel, the way it makes you think. That's the state I'm in right now, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to pick up next, but I'll see you in the next clip. Hello, I've been reading quite a bit, so I figured a reading update is long overdue. So this morning, I just finished reading volumes 37 and 38 of this One Piece omnibus, and this arc, Water 7, has me in an absolute chokehold. It has me on the edge of my seat, and it is so entertaining to read. I'm a big fan of the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I love that series so much because the characters get themselves in these pickles that you're like, okay, there's no way out of that. How can you possibly overcome that obstacle? Oh, you already did it, and you did it in a very cool way that I did not foresee. And that is how this omnibus is playing out. It's like I'm watching this action-packed anime that puts the characters in these really big problems and creates some really interesting solutions. So I'm really enjoying this so far. I haven't only read One Piece though, I've also been reading a lot of other things. One thing I read on my Kindle I borrowed from my library, and it's called The Eyes Are the Best Part. The Eyes Are the Best Part is this brief horror story that is about grief and rage, misogyny, racism. It tackles all these different topics, and it is so intense. I sometimes struggle to get through novels, but this book, I could not put it down. I could not. Like, I didn't even vlog it because the speed at which I was consuming this book was truly alarming. I would categorize this kind of as a slow burn horror. We follow our main character who is in this family that is breaking apart. The father of the family kind of just got up one day and left to go pursue a relationship with another woman. Our main character kind of doesn't know how to deal with the grief of her father leaving the family, and she also doesn't know how to handle her mother's grief over this. But one day her mother bumps into this man that she falls in love with, and she introduces him to the family. And of course, as you can imagine, there are issues right off the bat. This man does not pronounce the daughters' names correctly. He seems to be a very arrogant person. He also seems to fetishize Asian people. He is this entire mess. But the part where this book kind of turns into a horror book is when our main character develops a strange fascination with eyes. It all kind of started when her mom pressured her to eat fish eyes because fish eyes are considered good luck, and from there she kind of developed a strange fascination with human eyes. So you can kind of see maybe the path in which that is going. And it is disturbing, it is weird. There's a ton of trigger warnings in this book. I'll place them on the screen. It's definitely a book that can be a little bit gross, so if you're not into horror, I probably would skip on it. But if you're looking for a weird horror book that you can read quickly, this is definitely a good one to check out. And now let's move on from novels to manga. I recently read Volume 4 of Associate Professor Akira Takatsuki's Conjecture. This series is about a student who can hear lies and their folklore professor. They make a great duo when it comes to researching interesting ghost stories, urban legends, and strange supernatural occurrences. In this series, there are several supernatural occurrences, and I enjoyed most of them. There was one in the middle that I was like, okay, like, it didn't really give, but that's okay because the supernatural investigation at the end of the book was really good, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in the next volume. Looking back at all the things I've read recently, I realized that I've been in a creepy, scary mood when it comes to reads, because the next volume I read was Volume 4 of The Summer Hikaru Died. This story is just so creepy, and it's only getting creepier and weirder. This mangaka is also insanely talented when it comes to art, so you can imagine that the creepy, scary moments in this look really disturbing. This is a horror series that follows two boys who are best friends. One of them goes missing, and when they return, the other realizes that that's not really his friend Hikaru. It's someone else. It's actually something else. It's a strange entity. All of these crazy things start happening in this small town, and in this volume, the happenings were no different. They were very creepy, very weird, and I'm really curious where this is going. So now that you're all caught up on reading updates, I feel like reading some more. I have a wide open day, which I am so grateful for, so I figured I'm going to try and read as much as I can today, which probably won't be as much as I think it'll be, but I'm excited to just have an open day for reading. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot from One Piece to Requiem of the Rose King. I'm gonna go ahead and check out volume 2. I have volumes 3 and 4 as well, so I could binge this if I am in such a mood. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read this, and I'll see you in the next clip. Hello, it is the next day and I am currently very tired, which is why I am reporting to you from my bed. So yesterday I binge read all of the Requiem of the Rose King volumes I have. This series is a very dark, dramatic, historical shoujo that is far more violent and gory than I expected. This story is about the war that is ongoing between two houses, the House of Lancaster and the House of York. They are both fighting for who they believe is the rightful heir to the throne, and it is messy. Everyone has a different idea of who should rule, and our main character, Richard, is kind of cast aside and not considered a potential candidate for the throne because they are often often described as a demon child because they are intersex. This series does contain a lot of misgendering. A lot of people call Richard a woman, but Richard quickly corrects them and says, no, I am a man. Thank you very much. I am really enjoying like the gender aspects of this series. I love that Richard is a strong character who knows who he is, but he has this really difficult war going on within himself. He's not happy about his body, and this series is also very triggering for reasons I will put on screen because they are very sensitive. There's a lot of this type of content that I've written on the screen right now. So if you are sensitive at all to that content, I would not recommend reading this because it is pretty graphic. But aside from that, I am really enjoying this series so far. It's really interesting to see Ayakano do a more serious, dark, gritty series rather than a fluffy, lighthearted one. And yeah, I'm really eager to continue this series. And today, as I already mentioned, I was feeling very lethargic. I still am. I go through phases of being lethargic and tired every so often, and it just so happened to be today. And I decided to go back to bed and read Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, Volume 2. Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You is a series that I mentioned in my mid-year manga freakout tag. This is a comedy series about this middle-aged man who's burnt out from work, and his only solace in life is seeing a young, smiling cashier at his local supermarket. So he frequents that place searching for her, but one day he doesn't find her, but someone else instead, who he begins to have a blossoming friendship with. But he doesn't know that he already knows this person. It's a fun series that makes me chuckle and I really enjoy it, and today it lifted my spirits a little bit, so I am grateful to it for that. And that wraps up my reading updates for today. I'll see you in the next clip. Hello, good morning. It is the next day and I am so tired. I had the brilliant idea of reading volume 39 of One Piece right before bed, which just so happened to be one of the most emotional, action-packed volumes I've read so far. But I didn't stop there. I started reading the next volume, volume 40. I got about a quarter through and it was also very intense. So I think putting that kind of content in my brain right before I'm trying to have a peaceful slumber is not a good idea. This morning I decided to continue reading One Piece because I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I am still working my way through volume 40 and I feel like a broken record. I feel like I keep saying this. I'm trying to get caught up with One Piece. There's going to be 107 volumes available starting in November. That's when the 107th volume comes out. So I want to finish all of that before the end of the year. And right now I'm on volume 40. So that means I need to read 67 volumes somehow, and it's already September. I'm gonna have to do the math to see how many volumes of One Piece I have to read per week in order to actually achieve this goal. Maybe it's not as bad as I'm thinking it is, because right now I'm tired and everything seems difficult. But anyways, let's talk about One Piece a little bit. Of course, no spoilers. I am surprised by how this series retains its quality. And I also just really love that there are some really strong characters in this series, such as Luffy. Luffy is pretty much the same person throughout the story so far. He is this strong, kind, big-hearted dreamer that doesn't really fear anything. And at first I thought this was foolish, that he maybe didn't fear anything because he didn't allow himself to think about it, but I realized that he actually has really strong convictions, and he's the kind of person that's going to continue to fight for what he believes is right until he dies. So he'll fight for his friends, for his promises, and for his ideals. And that is the kind of character that is so easy to get behind. It's so easy to read multiple volumes where you see that person and their friends continue their journey. It is like human nature to want to cheer on that type of person. So I think that's why, or at least that's one of the reasons why One Piece is such a long, ongoing series. And we're not sick of it because we want to be like these characters. We want to be good friends. We want to fight for what we believe in. We want to keep our promises, and we want to achieve our dreams. So reading One Piece is not only fun, but also motivational, as cheesy as that sounds. Thank you so much for listening to my TED Talk. But anyways, enough yapping. I am going to continue to read this lovely series, and I'll see you in the next clip. Hello reader friends, I'm here to provide you with a reading update, and unfortunately the last thing I read was not good, and that was Turns Out My Online Friend Is My Real Life Boss Volume 2. So this manga wasn't always a series, it was a one-shot, and I read it sometime this year, or maybe even last year, I don't quite remember. But when I originally read the one-shot, I really enjoyed it. In the one-shot, we follow the two main characters who both work together. One is the boss and one is, I guess, a regular employee. And they don't realize that they are both big fans of this RPG game, and they become friends online via the game. And they decide to one day meet up in real life, and as you can guess from the title, they discover that they know each other and that they actually work together. And from there, a romance starts to bloom, and I was really satisfied with the one shot. I felt like there was enough tension to keep the story interesting, and I found the resolution to be satisfying. So I was really excited initially when it got announced that there's actually going to be a volume 2 and also a volume 3, because I wanted to see more of these characters, but honestly, this was boring. Unfortunately, this kind of almost backpedals the story, because in the first volume our characters learn some things, they grow in some ways, and it kind of feels like they just forgot all of their life lessons that they learned. They forgot how to communicate better, and the conflict, in my opinion, is just annoying, and it just was very unsatisfying to read. And at this point, I kind of feel like this should have just stayed a one-shot. I hope that volume 3 changes my mind, but I don't have high expectations because it seems like this story is giving into some really overdone tropes. And it's not like the one-shot was perfect, but creating this into a series just hasn't done it any favors so far. But anyways, I'm a little bummed that my last read in this reading vlog wasn't all that amazing, but that's okay because I'm planning forward. I'm thinking of the future right now. I'm going to leave this in the past, you know? And I was thinking that this year I really want to celebrate spooky season / Halloween like early. I just want to enjoy that season as much as possible because it's my favorite time of the year. So I'm planning to do like a spooky readathon. So if you have any suggestions, any spooky reads, they could be, you know, in the horror genre, it could just be in the spooky genre, it could also just be in the fall vibes genre. You know what I mean? So go ahead and tell me in the comments what I should add to my TBR for spooky season, because I am just so excited to fill up my reading schedule. And yeah, I'm also excited to film a little spooky readathon. It'll be really fun, really cozy. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you want to watch more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. It really helps my channel. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.